Psalms 64 and 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Call Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen, and to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the great millstone, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this is a video that the Lord dumped in my lap. Just went on the YouTube, trying to get into the spirit so I can do an edifying lesson for the day. I usually do a lesson, sometimes two a day. And the Lord delivered this one into my hand. You talking about the tongues falling upon themselves. And this is coming from Glenn Greenwald. He's, an Amalekite himself. All right. And it seems at this point that the entire world, because I had a conversation yesterday with someone who's not even in the truth, a so-called Christian, but that Christian knew that, that the Negroes are the Jews, a Christian man and woman, are the true Judeans, and of course they had a church doctrine, connection to almost everything, but they know that the people of the Bible, that all the prophets and the Israelites were a Negroid race of people. They were very well aware of this. So this truth is spreading and people are conversating about it. I had a brother tell me yesterday that his cousin was locked up in Florida and came back to the Shy, and his cousin, all of a sudden out of nowhere, his cousin started saying that they were the Israelites, and he learned that in prison. So the fact that something other than being a Muslim is being taught, you can't stop the truth of the Lord, man. You can't. And this was a Northern Kingdom cat. All right, and a brother who I love and adore and trust, said that, hey, I've seen a change in my cousin. He clearly is a different man now. Because he said his cousin was a straight up, nigga, a spigger. Weed smoking, adultery, just out in the streets. And it's basically, he said he watched his cousin, do a 180 about face from so he's much better person now that he knows he's an Israelite, even though he, following some bugged out doctrine. But I told him, give it time. He might, come into the, to the full knowledge. But the point is that, and this is a half-hour video. I'm going to let about 10 minutes of it play. But I just want to get this commentary out before I do. And just a few more scriptures. This is, because they never want us to forget 1948 or anything that happens to them, but they always want you to dismiss your beliefs, dismiss, the atrocities that happened to the true Israelites, the, 400 plus years, almost 500 years of slavery here in the Americas, because, the natives of the Americas and the islands are Israelites as well, and the slave trade, the African slave trade started with them. They were being taken to Africa and to Europe. That's what started your triangular slave trade. All right. And they would, yes, because you had a triangle from Europe to Africa to America. All right. And then sometimes from America back to Africa, back to Europe. It's a triangle. They were taking Northern Kingdom, so-called natives of the Americas, to Europe. And then those same ships would go to Africa and pick up more Judeans, more Levites, more Haitians, and bring them to the islands or to the southern colonies. That's just fact. But here's an insert from the Jewish Encyclopedia in 1925. It also says the same thing in the 1980 Jewish Almanac. It also this quote is in there as well. But But in the 1925 Jewish Encyclopedia, it states uh, on page 5, edition 5, page 41, all right, that it is that the modern Jewry is Edom. All right, Edom is modern Jewry. 1925 Jewish Encyclopedia, all right, edition 5, page 41. In the 1980 Jewish Almanac, it says that, strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew or to call a contemporary Jew, to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or a Hebrew, right? And that's the 1980 Jewish Almanac, page 3. So an Israeli is not an Israelite. An Israeli is not an ancient Israelite. However, they go off because they are Hebrews. They're Hebrew Edomites. And it just seems, in the world, it's no more hiding this. It's no more hiding this. And the people who stand up for it are standing up simply for Edomite superiority, what you might ignorantly call Caucasian or white superiority, because they do not want to accept the undeniable truth that the Israelites were a melanated people, that the Lord if he was on earth today in the flesh, he would have the appearance of a so-called black man. That truth is just so overwhelmingly, hurtful to them that they have cognitive dissonance, and they seek just to please their own, Edomite fragility, their own Caucasian fragility, by holding on to these lies which have been completely debunked. All right, the stories, and them, because the Bible clearly says that the Israelites will be in no position of power. Well, these people have power and connections everywhere. I mean, it's true, and it's not a anti anything to say it. It's just simply the truth. All right, it's simply the truth. Candace Owen was tearing up some rabbi, and he calls her anti-Semite for using the term hag to describe Rabbi Shumley's daughter. All right, and also the fact that she called him evil because he's a rabbi, but yet he's the founder or progenitor of porn. Eastern Europe. Hold on. How dare you go into the misogynistic? So instead of addressing that, he attacks that he calls the woman daughter a hag. So that was his way. He was looking for a way out when she went in on him. All right. So I'm not even gonna play that. When she that little insert there. But you have to ask yourself this. All right. And let me find this. All right. And this organization, this is just one of many. So I won't speak of them all. I'll speak of this one. But the letter A, the letter I, the letter P, the letter A, the letter C, all right, is a lobbying group that advocates pro-Israel policies to legislative and executive branches of the government. Wait a minute. Why do you have an organization that's un-American, all right, that's lobbying to the legislative and executive branches of the United States? Because they control it. When you look at all the top law enforcement here in America, we're talking DEA, FBI, CIA, Secret Service, at the top of the list of all those are, 1948ers. So they're when you look at your and this is just fact. This is not anti anything. Go on with that bullshit excuse. All right, or it's just a coincidence. All right, but when all your financial systems, the like I just saw that Trump is being hit for $500 million lawsuit or something. They're trying to confiscate his property. All right. They're doing everything to keep this man from being president. But it's coming from an organization that's not even American, which is also owned by 1948ers, the Federal Reserve. They have nothing to do with your government. No one elected these people, yet they control policy. Okay? All your major entertainment, stations, television viewing, 1948ers. Yeah. So when you point that out, all of a sudden you're just some mean, evil anti-person. Oh, man, this is mind-boggling, and that goes completely and totally against prophecy, the prophecy of the state that the Israelites will be in. It said they will be the tail and not the head. You will not lend to them, but they shall lend to thee. We're the borrowers. We're on the bottom. It says we will be on the bottom in every society that we're in. These people are not on the bottom in any society that they're in. The scripture says Amalek will be the first of the nations, to the point so that they're so far ahead of their own people, the other Edomites, that the other Edomites are starting to despise them because they can see it. That's what this whole one of the main reasons with this TikTok thing is about, because they can't censor it. This video that I'm about to play, I put it in word for word, and all popped up was pro-Israeli videos instead of this one. I had to put in the title of the channel, If Americans Knew, and then Israeli general admits war impossible without U.S. support video. Finally, this with a line of other videos actually popped up on the screen. But when I put this video in, word for word, letter for letter, it did not pop up. With all these other videos, this is not even the title. So even the algorithm is pro 1948ers. You can't get around this, man.
October 7th, the topic we have covered more than any other by a decent distance on this show is the ongoing war that is carried out by Israel against a largely helpless population in Gaza. Whatever you think of the original justification for the invasion and the attack itself, this is not really a war in any classical or traditional sense. It's not any combat between two militaries the way, say, is happening in Ukraine and happens in most combats and theaters that we refer to as a war. This is really an attack by a country with one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world, backed by the world's largest superpower, Israel and the United States, that is bombing and invading and shooting and shelling and blockading a population that is almost entirely civilian and that has no real military to speak of. They had very primitive rockets that they aimlessly have shot into Israel as a protest against the 2-decade blockade. They obviously have some guns and some other small munitions, but they have no military to speak of. And as a result, it's not any kind of a real war. It's a massacre. It's a very one-sided conflict. And one of the things that happened very early on in the war was that the Israeli government at the highest level, in fact, its defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said what Israel's plan would be for the war. One of the weapons they intended to use against the Palestinian people, not against Hamas, but against all of Gaza, which was a full-scale blockade where they would deliberately exclude food, water, electricity, or fuel from entering Gaza. They didn't say, we're not going to provide them with fuel and water and food. They said, we're going to block all of Gaza from getting from any source, from other countries, from international aid organizations, food and water. And he said it on video, and everybody can listen to it, and we're about to listen to it right now. Here's the Israeli defense minister on October 9th, 2023, talking about what one of the tactics of their war would be. I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly. So they made no secret of the fact that that was their goal, that that was their intention. Now, obviously, after 6 months, when you have doctors and nurses from around the world, not just from Gaza, but from Europe and North America and South America and Asia, having been based in Gaza, going to Gaza to try and provide healthcare, and they have firsthand accounts of babies and young children and adults dying of hunger. mass famine throughout Gaza, a population of 2.2 million people, half of whom are children. That's 1.1 million children, people under the age of 18. They have all kinds of Western healthcare providers and aid organizations documenting that in nurseries, the babies are too malnourished even to cry. They often die immediately after birth, or they die stillborn because they're not getting enough nutrition. There are 3 and 4 and 5-year-old children who are simply wasting away, who are completely emaciated, and who are dying simply of hunger because there is no way to get food into Gaza, even though many aid organizations and countries are trying. And that's because, in large part, Israel is making good on what they said they would do, which was prevent food from getting into Gaza. Here from The Guardian today, yet another report has been issued, this one by the World Bank. Quote, World Bank report finds imminent risk of catastrophic famine in the Gaza Strip. Findings come as the UN General Secretary calls on Israel to give unconditional access to Gaza for aid relief. Everyone all over the world knows exactly why there's famine in Gaza. It's because the Israelis are blocking trucks from getting in. You can interview the drivers of these trucks. You can interview the organizations sending them. And they will say the Israelis keep them out for hours and days at a time. What they do let in is a tiny little fraction of what's necessary for the sustenance of the population. There's no doubt in anyone's mind, except in the minds of a sector of Israel supporters in the United States who deny fault automatically in every instance when it comes to Israel, why this is happening. It's because Israel is using famine and war and hunger and starvation as a weapon of war. Here from The Guardian, quote, half the population of the Gaza Strip is at imminent risk of famine as food shortages approach catastrophic levels for more than 1 million people, the World Bank has warned. The bank's regular update found that of Gaza's population of 2.3 million, there were 1.1 million in the highest risk category, people in catastrophe, which meant risk of acute malnutrition or death. A further 854,000 people, 38% of the population, were in the next category down, people in emergency, where immediate action is needed to save their lives. The remaining 12% were in the third category, people in crisis. Nobody in Gaza, not a single human being, was placed in the bottom 2 categories. People merely stressed or people in food and who are food insecure. Quote, household surveys, or I'm sorry, people who have food security. Not one person in Gaza is in the 2 best categories. Quote, household surveys reveal alarming trends with virtually all households skipping meals daily and a significant portion of children under 2 suffering from acute malnutrition, the report said. The World Bank said the projected famine could happen at any time between now and late May, and conditions were being exacerbated by a number of factors, including relentless hostilities, meaning Israel's war in Gaza, widespread damage to infrastructure, and restricted humanitarian access, hindering the delivery of essential supplies and services. Now, you notice that a lot of Western media accounts like The Guardian write these reports, and so does the World Bank, to exclude any active agent. They say famine is happening. Humanitarian aid is being blocked. They write it on purpose to prevent affirmative declarative statements that Israel is deliberately causing it, but there's no question that that is what's happening. First of all, Israel is the party that is in charge of all of Gaza. Hamas does not govern Gaza and has not since October 8th, when Israel started bombing and then Israel invaded, certainly hasn't for many months. The governing body of Gaza is Israel. It determines who and what gets in and out. It determines who goes where and what goes where. Obviously, there are still Hamas forces fighting against the invading Israeli army on their soil, but what happens in Gaza is determined by the Israelis. So if there's famine in Gaza, if there are blockades of convoys from getting in and out, it's only one reason. It's only one party that governs Gaza. It's not Hamas, it's Israel. Secondly, there was no mass famine in Gaza prior to the Israeli invasion. So trying to blame Hamas for a famine that did not happen until the Israelis arrived is obviously irrational. Thirdly, the Israelis have explicitly said that they intended to use that as a weapon of war. And then fourth, There are endless reports of Israelis blocking aid to Gaza on the grounds that they want the population to starve. Here is France 24 in February of 2024, just last month. Here you see the headline: Israeli protesters block aid convoys bound for Gaza. Quote, "You might say it's not acceptable to block food and water going in," said one protester, David Rudman, at the Nitzana border post between Israel and Egypt. Quote, "But given the situation we're in, it's acceptable," he argued, as the Gaza war, siege, and hostage crisis have continued into the 5th month. Here from the Washington Post, also in February, quote, "Young Israelis block aid to Gaza while IDF soldiers stand and watch." Quote, "It's approaching 1 a.m. Yosef DeBresser, 22, is in the thick of planning. He taps out a WhatsApp message to rally more. Quote, "We sleep tonight in Kerem Shalom and block aid and fuel to Hamas. Do you want to sleep here with us?" Shuttles are running throughout the night and day. Before Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th and the war that ensued, Kerem Shalom was the main commercial crossing between Israel and Gaza. Today, it's one of just 2 entry points for life-saving food and medicine to the besieged enclave, where aid agencies say civilians are on the brink of famine. But DeBresser and his 3 companions, Israelis, are determined to keep any trucks from getting through. And they aren't bothered if innocents suffer. Quote, "War is war," DeBresser shrugs. The United States didn't care about civilians when it blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Who gives his enemy aid?
Wow. Like it says in Revelation 18:6, everything they've done shall be brought back unto them double. This is Jeremiah 49:10, and it reads, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. But thus saith Yahweh, behold, though they whose judgment was not to drink the cup, have surely drunken it. Art thou he that shall go altogether unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Basra," and that's any place where Edom is, "shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be a perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador is sent to the heathen, saying, Gather ye together, go come against her, and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men." The small headers are small, and they're despised by practically the whole world at this point. All right, but when you're in power, people just tend to go along and get along. But all that's starting to change. "Thy terribleness have deceived thee, in the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock." See, you Edomites who came from the clefts of the rocks, and not the Caucasus Mountain. That was your second mountain home. Your first mountain home was Mount Seir, modern day Petra in Jordan. All right, just south of Israel. That was your first mountain home. All right, got the receipts and the relics to prove that. "Thy terribleness have deceived thee, in the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, and holdest the height of the hill. Thou shouldest make thy nest as high as, though thou makest thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Yahweh. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished." Salakia. "And shall hiss at all the plagues thereof." See, the eagle has been an animalistic symbol from Edom, from the time of Alexander, all the way up to every Edomite stronghold today. Every Edomite country bears the eagle as their animalistic symbol, and the eagle is a hateful hunter. Same characteristics as Esau Edom, who is exposed. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Wakaha Kodash, Kwam Yasharala Shalom.